Growing up, my parents had strong opinions around money and equality. They told me that money was not important, boring, and evil. That people who worked with money were greedy and not talented. And in order for me to be equal, I needed to wait for the government or my employer to make me equal. That my equality was dependent on somebody else. I was helpless. Well, my parents were wonderful people, a little misguided, and on these 3 points, dead wrong. After 30 years of working as a financial advisor and a professor, I have a different take. I'm going to tell you that money is very important, and that if you choose to become financially engaged by committing to learn how money works, that you can choose to be equal. You are not helpless. So my story on how I became financially engaged and I overcame helplessness is just one of many, but it's a story worth telling. Picture this. I am 17, and my father has just landed a job 500 miles away. My whole family has moved, leaving me behind. They decided that maybe it would be best for me to stay in New Jersey where I could qualify for in-state tuition. My parents wanted me to go to college, but they didn't have money to pay for it. All my childhood, my family struggled with money. Is there any wonder with a mindset that says that money is evil? So my parents had made a lot of bad decisions, including leaving me by myself to figure things out. But I found a job working as a waitress at a local restaurant. But after I paid for my tuition, there wasn't a lot of money left over. I told my roommates that I was going to have to move out. I didn't tell them that I couldn't afford to pay the rent. I was embarrassed. I just leave. I packed my car and I put all my clothes in the back of my car, and I make a list of all the people I'm going to visit in New Jersey and New York who hopefully will invite me to spend the night staying on their couch. I am very grateful when they invite me for dinner, and if they don't, I don't eat. I continue on all through my college years like that until I graduate, and I get married. Yes, I was way too young to get married, but I thought it was a good idea because, well, I liked him a lot, and although I really don't like admitting this to you, I don't even like admitting it to myself, marriage provided an opportunity for financial security. There, I said it. I was dependent and I was helpless. It seems today a lot of women still feel helpless. To feel helpless, you feel incapable, ineffective, like your voice doesn't matter. But I ask, raise your hand if you've never felt ineffective at something in your life. Most of us can't say that, right? I mean, the truth is that as a woman, there are times where I feel like I'm encouraged to be helpless. Those stereotype messages that still linger in my head tell me, let him drive. Let him take over the finances. Let them make the decision for you. I've been sitting in the passenger seat of my own life, helpless. Well, finally, over time, I've learned that the only way that I could stop feeling helpless was if I took ownership. I needed to become crystal clear in my own head of my wants and needs so that nobody else could make choices for me. Once I understood that, my life changed forever. My story can change other people's lives too. Maybe it's just one single woman who will listen to me. Hopefully more than my children do. I plan to convince her that she should become financially engaged. Okay, I see some of you looking at me with those doubtful eyes. Money's not important, boring, evil, who cares? Really? You too? Well, she should care. We all should care, because if she becomes financially engaged, she will be far from helpless. She will be able to protect herself from financial distress or even disaster. And also, she will be able to live her life on her own terms, consistent with her own dreams. And also, she will be able to make smart decisions for her family, her community, her workplace. And also, she will be able to participate in the big decisions that shape our world, finding meaning, purpose, joy, and well-being in her life, all because she's financially engaged, 100%. Am I saying that all women are helpless or not financially engaged? Of course not. But there are some women that have overlooked or perhaps ignored because they think it's not important, boring, or evil, the importance of financial engagement. Being financially engaged, understanding how money works, allows us to participate as equals. Two unlikely co-conspirators, money and equality, or maybe not so unlikely. You know, we all know that the gender equality has been a conversation for over 100 years, with 4 waves of the women's movement focused on consciousness-raising issues such as women's voting rights, workplace discrimination, sexual harassment, but without a final practical solution. After 4 waves, it seems that gender equality may still have an uncertain future. Many women still feel vulnerable and frustrated in general. Haven't you watched the news? You see that, right? Many women feel like they're not adequately compensated or rewarded in the workplace. Many women feel at best like they are not heard or considered, and at worst, like they are helpless. Consider this: equality. True equality is about having choice and influence and the ability to find meaning, purpose, joy, and well-being in our lives. And this is important because this is going to be a paradigm shift for some people. Rather than focusing on the helplessness of inequality, I propose a 5th wave focused on the solution, where women seize ownership over an area where historically we haven't participated. And according to the data, we still don't. It involves money. Well, why money? Social scientists tell us whoever controls the most important resource has the power. Undeniably, in today's society, money is our key resource. Think about it. Control over money offers choice and offers us the ability to influence those things that are most important to us. Nearly all the important decisions that we make in our life, in our families, the workplace, the community, and the world have financial consequences involved in them. Now, I have been studying women and money for about 20 years now. It was even my topic for my PhD thesis. There are many researchers that have found that women are less financially knowledgeable, a proxy for financial engagement. I wanted to understand which women. One of the studies that we did looked at women and men's financial knowledge. It looked at 7,500 different men and women, and we found that in every age group, women were less financially knowledgeable than the men. Notice, as a teacher, when I look at this, most of the people didn't even score 70%. Most of the people failed. We then broke up the group into never married and generational cohorts. And what we found when we looked at the never married group was that men and women were equally less knowledgeable. And these people didn't even score 60%. They all failed. This is actually why some of the young moms that we have who are trying to make good decisions for their families still struggle when they're single. We then looked at the married cohorts, and we saw that Women are less financially knowledgeable in every single cohort. This is particularly disturbing because it's often said that in the younger cohorts, the expectation is that as more women go to college, they'll become more financially engaged. But we don't see this in the data. And when we run the regressions controlling for college, that does not explain the financial engagement gap. Instead, what we're seeing that it really is about intrinsic motivation that drives financial engagement. And we love to see when women are motivated and inspired to get financially engaged. Janet, a woman that I worked with recently, had paid off all of her student loans and her credit card debt one by one, and finally now she is debt-free. She has taken ownership over her financial freedom and her ability to take care of her family. Pat, a woman that I worked with years ago, had convinced her husband that they should take out a survivorship payout option on their annuity. Now, years later, unfortunately, her husband has passed away, but she has adequate income because of her preparation. She took ownership over her retirement and her future. And there are women all over the country who are joining forces, creating giving circles where they choose a charity they want to support. A lot of these women don't necessarily have money themselves, but they have the ability to influence and direct where the money is going. They have taken ownership, and they are making a difference in their communities and in the nation. Unfortunately, as a financial professional advocating for women, I receive hundreds of phone calls from women all over the country who are having trouble. It's heartbreaking because many of the problems that they have could have been prevented. We have other people throughout the country who are also supporting women, but we are a small army. We can't reach all the women. Besides, I am tired of helping women after they get into trouble and their lives are in shambles. I don't want to tell another 65-year-old woman that she can't stop working, or a newly divorced mom that she has to sell the house that her children call home, or the young family that they can't take their children on vacation because their debt is out of control. I want to talk to women before they get into trouble so I can help change the trajectory of their life so that they have choices and they have influence. That's why we need a revolution. That's why we need the fifth wave. Financial engagement is not just about money. It's bigger than money. It's about equality. So women, take ownership. Proactively seek financial engagement. Go take that finance class. Sit down and review your budget. Ask questions, ask lots of questions before you sign any documents. And please, 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 most importantly, pay attention to all the financial decisions that are being made in your life. The rest of us, let's make a pact right here, right now, that we're going to support all the women in our lives, our daughters, our sisters, our moms, our wives, and encourage them to become financially engaged so that they too have choices. You want to hear the rest of my story? So it's December of 1986. My first husband, the one that I married for financial security, comes home and tells me, I lost my job, we have no money. Ironic, right? Well, it's not like I've never been out of money before. I've experienced this all through college. But this time, as my husband is telling me we have no money, this time is different. This time I have somebody dependent on me. I have a child. There is no way I'm going to allow my child to endure the same hardships that I went through. My maternal instinct goes into superdrive. It's on this day that I decide to go enroll in a finance class at my local university, actually my alma mater, 10 miles down the road. It's on this day that I decide that I'm going to take ownership over all the financial decisions in my life. It's on this pivotal day that I am no longer helpless. And I am humble and grateful to tell you that after 30 years, I own my choices, I have influence, and I am equal. The women's movement has been said to have occurred in 4 waves. Let's make the 5th wave the last wave. Let's make the 5th wave about promoting financial engagement for everybody. Imagine a world where women work with men side by side, coming up with the answers to all the problems that we have in the world as equals, with financial knowledge, with new ideas, with new ways of thinking. That's equality. That's the 5th wave. Thank you.